Well, good morning. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing well in this beautiful morning here off to the salt mine, I guess, the job or whatever you want to call it. Uh, so, oh my God, oh, we're doing noises today. We're doing sounds of the car sounds with tactical MIDI. Well, yesterday was let's say revealing day. It's a lot of things I learned from yesterday, and I'm gonna talk about the Electron Toneberg 1.40. Toneberg 1.0, 1.40. So now you get all 32 channels, which is you get the buses output, channels 1 through 8. You get all the stereo goodness of each channel. Then you get the bus channels and the returns channels also on the Toneberg. I mean, it sounds normal. But there's a big caveat you gotta understand is that if you are used to using outboard gear before you go into your audio interface, like I do, if you go, not even that much outboard gear, like if you're used to going into a mixer and then going into your audio interface, and that's a whole way different feeling from going with the audio into the computer directly through via or directly through USB. Now, the difference in the loudness and how loud that the machine sounds, especially the Toneberg, I didn't have that much problem with the analog rhythm. The analog rhythm, the volume of the sound comes out through USB, almost the same as using the outboard gear. Running it through the outboard gear. For some reason, it sounds louder, way louder than when I put the Toneberg, and it probably is giving it the right volume, but for some reason it doesn't feel right. That's one thing. The other thing is that I was running last night the same beat, that hip hop beat I did with all 4 machines, where I play a beat from each machine. On the Tumblr, for some reason, channel number 7, which is the bass sound, it wasn't coming through via USB. Now, the drum channel, the flute channel, which is channel number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they were working, but some of them are not working for some reason. And I did the update. I updated everything, and you can see what you can switch it on the Toneberg to multi-tracking via over. Sorry about that. And it's not working the way I would like to. and I think it's because it needs more work. I think it was. I know they're trying to rush it in, but it's gonna need more work. Um, I still right now, the way it sounds going through my outboard stuff sounds way louder, way crispier. It has the sonic sound that I'm used to. Like when you get used to something and then you go back to where you started, which was like either USB audio straight in and stuff like that. It's not the same loudness. It's not the same sound quality. It changes. So just be aware of that. You're gonna have to work it. Um, when you have all those individual channels in there, either you're gonna have to still go out through to your outboard and back in, and because it's not gonna sound the same. That's it. I don't want to add any more stuff to it. It's not the same. What else did I find out? I like the fact that they did a lot of changes. I really do like that we have two more modulation sources. That's awesome. I like the fact that you can do the switcheroo with the what you may call it, with the effects. That's not bad at all. Uh, I never needed it though, but it lets you switch it out, and it's a good thing if you ever decided that your FX routing is not right. Well, you can go in and fix it, put the right stuff to it. Um, what else did I find? I'm enjoying a lot multi-sampling, especially using Convert Moss and doing converting sounds that I already have a ton of libraries of multi-sampled instruments. I found out that Convert with Moss does the job of converting those, especially the ones that are made for native instruments. They sound really, really well done. I really, really like that fact that it sounds really well. Now I have a whole bunch of instruments inside the Toneberg, on top of the fact that I have basically a dual wavetable synthesizer in the Toneberg. We have the single player and we have the grainer. That's pretty much that's all you need, I guess. They didn't bring the time stretching, which I really don't care that much about time stretching, because when you use a lot of time stretching and let's say auto chopping, it takes away the creativity from you. Because when you do auto chop or lazy chop, what you're doing is basically you're just gonna use the same stuff the way it is. I rather go through the pain of using samples in a different way. You're still sampling, you're still doing the thing that gives it that sound, but I rather just painstakingly do my chops. I locking your chops is all right. Yeah, it was a really revealing day yesterday, and you can tell I visited a couple channels yesterday, and people get annoyed when they have people in their chat. People get annoyed when they have people in the chat that know what's happening, and they get mad that you throw in a question, or you throw in a fact about the situation. They don't want to talk about it, because I guess they're entangled with the company itself, and they don't want to talk anything because there's a lot of positives, but there's also negatives, and nobody likes to touch the negative side of things. And me as a consumer, if you tell me the truth from the beginning, that's okay. Like, that's okay, because if I really want that product, I go get it. Um, and the negative stuff can be fixed. But if we don't talk about the negative stuff, like things that are not working right on, on the product or whatnot, if we don't talk about it, it's never gonna get fixed. That pattern change latency of one full bar before it finally sends the pattern change makes the tone work uh, unusable to be the master of a whole setup. So you gotta be aware of that when you get a tone work. The tone work is not gonna, yeah, pattern change with other electron boxes. That's a very important thing, because if you write a whole song between 2 or 3 machines, the pattern change needs to be on point on all of those 3 boxes. And if your main box changes before the rest of the boxes that are working together, what happens is it throws off the beat. It will start exactly 1 bar later. Like, you will hit the pattern change, it will change on the tone work, and then after a whole bar has passed, it finally sends the pattern change to the other channels. I know Electron doesn't watch my videos, and I understand that people don't give a damn about what I'm saying, right? Because I'm not the Lord of Electron. So, but I have to say it, and people can do what they do, because, you know, when I wouldn't be surprised, because other channels have done this. They just go ahead and mute you from their live streams. So when you go there, they don't let you speak, because they don't believe on the First Amendment. They're weak in their mind. They can't deal with counter arguments from other people, I guess, and they rather just silence the viewer, just because they don't want to answer questions, or they don't want to accept the fact, acknowledge the situation. So if I'm not watching your channel lately, and if you don't see me in your live streams, or commenting on your stuff, and engaging in your channel, is because first of all, you silence me, and second of all, I'm not coming back to your channel if you silence me. If you want to get rid of me, do that. And yeah, just do that. If you don't wanna be a regular human that can be wrong, because I'm wrong too on a lot of things. I can be wrong on anything. And when I'm wrong, I accept it, and I go back and I fix my way of thinking, and I'm a very flexible human being, but I don't know. Yeah, the machine sounds great in itself. When you use your outputs, on the Electron Toneberg, and you're going into your high quality audio interface, the sound hits hard, and that's exactly why I really like the way my setup is. Even though they added this audio over USB, like multi-tracking over USB. Like I said, I tried it last night. I don't know if it's because it's a new software. It's probably not gonna accept the way my song is made, I guess, and it doesn't inputs are there. Even though all 36 audio inputs are there, right? I'm only getting channel 1 and channel 2. And I don't know if something has to do with the FL Studio. I don't know if I was supposed to restart the computer. Probably could be that. I am not sure. I really did restart the machine after I installed the firmware update. Yeah, there's nothing else to talk about. I think that's pretty much it. Toneberg OS 1.40. It's up and running and it's good. Yeah, it has a lot of stability, which is one of the most important things of hardware. It's stability. You want to be, I'd rather have stability than any other extra stuff, because you want it to be stable. You want to save your stuff and not lose it. You want to be able to load things quickly. You want to be able to do all those things every single time you're gonna do something. It happens, you know. Yeah, now I am doing multi-sampled synthesizers with the little FM1 boxes. I'm sampling them into my Toneberg, and the way the Toneberg itself samples in synthesizers, it works so good. It works so good. It adds exactly where it adds perfectly. The looping points on your multi-sample are added perfectly, and when you play, it's seamless. Like, it feels like it's a real instrument, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It was that. It was the modulation points. I guess now you can see your parameter locks. Salam alaikum. What? What's going on, Banana Rider? Oh yeah. No, well, the Mwave was there before, but I guess I showed the, you know, you can make anything sound nice. The Mwave is working, and I hope they fix it, because it still has a couple quirks, and if they fix those, that's gonna be a solid synthesizer to have. Even though it's a really cheap synthesizer, it's a synthesizer to have. Why not? Why don't have a 6-operator FM synthesizer that fits in your pocket? There's no way. When I saw that I could buy this for $50, I think it was $54. When I saw that you can buy that thing for $54 and you're getting 12, like polyphony, 12 polyphony, 6 operators, 32 algorithms. Oh my God! I say I gotta get 2. Why not? Now I have 2 of those, and they work great. They don't have that much noise. They're not noisy. And I thought they were gonna get noisy. No, not noisy. It can handle very well being connected to power and being played at the same time. It can handle that without having extra noise in the background. That's a very positive thing. It handles MIDI input very well. There's only one issue, is LFO. When you send modulation via MIDI, let's say what I wanted to do was to have modulation on the FX CC channels to control the LFO, the cutoff of the filter effect. So it has a filter effect. I believe it's a ladder filter, and then you can send like modulations, but only up to only up to multiplier 64. When you go over the multiplier 64, which means it's it's sending the LFO on BPM but multiplied by 64. That means that it cannot handle audio rate modulation via MIDI. And I already raised the fact to Mwave. They sound like they very responsive company. They were very nice. They replied to me, and it was all through YouTube. They replied to me. They told me that they understand. I sent them the video where the machine breaks up, and when it happens, and they saw it, and they sent that to their development team, and hopefully we can get a newer version. Right now we're at version 15 of the Mwave, so they have been actively updating that little machine. Mwave, I hope Mwave, if they're listening, I hope Mwave would do a mini sampler, just like that one. Doesn't have to be so complex. A mini sampler or a mini drum machine. That would be great. That would be crazy to have a drum machine. The only fact here is that the Mwave FM1 does not have a MIDI in, so you have to, if they're gonna do like the Samurai said he's buying 8 of them. Yeah, Samurai needs to buy his whole family FM1, and go to all the nephews and get them an FM1. Like I said, I bought 2. If you buy 4, you have basically 4 polyphonic synthesizers, I guess. If you really need 4 polyphonic synthesizers, FM synthesizers. But listen, I'm gonna do sampling with those machines. They're gonna be doing kicks. I'm gonna be doing kicks. I'm gonna be doing snares. I'm gonna be doing what's it called? God, I can't even fucking think. And it's early. I'm gonna be doing percussion sounds with it. I'm gonna be doing plucks for the machines, and I'm gonna get those sounds, and I'm gonna, you know what I mean? It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And then I'm gonna process them through my setup. I'm gonna get processed, heated up a little bit on the analog heat, and then leveled out with the Behringer 369, and then also using the internal processing of the machines that we got right now. And on the kicks and snares and stuff, I wanna send them to the analog rhythm, straight into the analog rhythm, because the analog rhythm has a special character. Even when it comes to samples, it gives it really nice character, and then that's gonna be run again through the analog heat and the Behringer 369 and back in. Those drums are gonna be awesome. Right now I have a whole set. Right now I already made the wavetable drum pack. I already got a wavetable drum pack made with the Electron Toneberg, and that sounds really good. I have been using the kick. One of the kicks that I made sounds really round and really like sounds like analog, but it's still wavetable. And then I want to have some FM snares, you know, bringing the flavor. I'm gonna do a whole pack, and they're gonna be like original sounds, not stolen from anywhere. We're gonna have all this goodness, analog goodness inside of those samples. And I'm not gonna kill the sample, which what I want to do is I want to be able to keep I want to be able to give you samples that they can still be processed a little bit more. I don't want to give you samples. I want to give you samples that sound loud enough. Talking about, you know, loud enough and crispy enough, but not so much that you cannot process them a little bit more. Because you want to have samples, drum samples, but they at the same time you want to get those sounds and make them your own. So you're gonna, when you're making a kit like that, you want to be like, you want to think about it. You don't want to over compress the drums. You don't want to do all the stuff. Yeah, you want to put some leveling in there, so you get your sounds really nice and balanced. And if the person that gets the pack wants to add even more compression, they can do so, and it's gonna be able to do so, you know, because I just don't want to touch so much the samples. High quality stuff, you know. I'm gonna try to make it 1648. I think it will be like a prudent thing to do. A 16-bit or 24-bit 48K, I guess that would be. I would rather do 16 because it will be way more compatible with different machines. I would do a 16 and 48, and that's like your standard. It used to be 44.1, but a lot of the newer machines are 48, and you know, they can handle that stuff. Masterclass on FM. FM is not so hard, bro. It's so easy. You know what's hard about FM is thinking about it. It's like FM is easy because it's basically you got the algorithm is telling you how you're gonna use the FM synthesizer. You see the algorithm, they have it there, and they tell you, okay, this is the algorithm, and this is what you can do with this algorithm. The algorithm is made so you can do certain types of sound, and then when you change the algorithm, it's a whole different. It's like having different way. It's not a FM is not a subtractive synthesis. It's FM. So you're modulating things with others to make a sound. Yeah. So it's a process. The good thing about the little FM1, the good thing about the little FM1 is that when you initialize a patch, all the operators have zero volume. You start on operator 1, so there's not gonna be any more sounds coming in from the other operators until you turn them on, which is a good thing because that way you can build your sounds slowly. Like you go to this operator section, and then you go to the next operator section, and that way you don't have to try to figure out what's going on if you're just going one by one. So FM is easy, very easy. You have the carrier and the modulators. Carrier is the oscillator, and the modulators is like the LFO that is controlled by volume through an envelope, and that's what's happening. Then you control the amount of modulation by using volume. So the more volume, the more output volume you put on that envelope, the more it's gonna affect the main carrier or the main oscillator. And that's exactly what FM is. Now it gets more complicated when you have an operator modulating another operator before it goes into the oscillator. So that means that you're oscillating the oscillator first, and then those two modulate the oscillator on the bottom, you know. So it's kind of complicated, but it's not. It's like when you figure it out how it really works, the rest is easy as hotcakes. And then you have also different other you have other like you can set those modulators, you can set them in a way where they stop at a certain what you call it, you can stop them at a certain note range. It has all those, it has a lot more in there that you can do, and it really sets you up for a blast. It's endless fun. Like you just buy one. You don't have to buy 10 like Sense Samurai. You don't have to buy 2 like me. Just buy one. And then you have this little FM synthesizer that can do a lot of different sonic characters and stuff like that. And that FM, you have 6 operators. Like with a Digitone 1 and a Digitone 2, you only get 4. You only get 4 operators. And this one you get 6. So it gives you way more. You know, I don't understand why Electron didn't do 6 operator. It would have been even better if they would have done like six operator. That would have been, it would have been crazier, especially on the drums. You would have made even crazier drums and crazier bass. Good morning, Jervis. Yeah. So I'm happy that Electron did their thing. I'm happy that they did their thing. They did their update. The machine is way more stable now. Now you have audio via USB, which I'm not sure if it's working perfectly. I'll hop on it tonight. I'll jump in. I'll make a quick video tonight about it. And you guys can say, or you guys can tell if you like it or not. I don't know. I think they should have fixed the pattern change problem. I read the whole thing. This is why do I know it wasn't fixed? Because I went into the notes of the update, and there's nothing. They don't talk any about that. So that thing hasn't been fixed, and that machine needs to send like I said, the pattern change needs to be sent on point. Otherwise, it'll throw your whole performance to the garbage. So it cannot be, like I said, it cannot be the master clock of your live setup, but not yet. Be jamming since birth. How you doing? Hey, how are you enjoying the new 1.40 on your Toneberg? I'm really having a blast right now. The other thing is that I need at least a 1 terabyte SD card, because yeah, with all this multi-sampling stuff, I'm eating up all the memory on the SD card. It's $200, almost $300 for SD card. A 1 terabyte SD card is almost $300. This is insane. Ape Man says, yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't have expected it to be able to keep time for others. Well, I hope they fix it. I hope they fix it. It's a work in progress. They even said it before. They even said it before you bought. I'm not disappointed at Electron. I'm just saying that the facts have to be pointed out so they can fix whatever's left. That's, for me, it's very important that a machine is stable and that it can communicate with the other Electron boxes perfectly. Those two things have to be met. If not, we're gonna have problems when it comes to either live performance or, I don't do that much live performance. I don't perform live out there like that. But when I record my music, I track it into my DAW while I'm performing it. So I like to make my music like a performance, so that it gives it more life. It makes it, that's my style at least. There's different ways you can go about it, but yeah, that's the thing. And then it works great as a slave machine. It can take in pattern changes, and it will change exactly on the dot. The problem is when you send pattern change from that box to another one, that's where the latency, it's not latency, and I think it has to do with the way that the timing of the pattern change is not correct. The timing on the pattern change has to be wherever you set your pattern change to. Let's say if you say you want to have pattern change at 32 steps, it should send the pattern change exactly at 32 steps, or it should signal the other machines to change at 32 steps before it gets to 32 steps. And that's the thing. I used Overbridge, but like I said earlier, I got used to my outboard gear, running everything through the outboard and back in, and the difference is huge. Like the volume is not as loud as when I connect my Toneberg into my audio interface inputs and then goes inside. It comes in louder. It comes in way louder than directly through USB. But it's because I'm running it through outboard gear. Of course, I'm already doing processing. But you just gotta keep in mind that when you send the audio through USB, it's not gonna be the same loudness like going into your preamps of your interface, or your converter, straight into the converter into the computer. It's gonna be different. It's not gonna be the same. So you're gonna have to do you're gonna have to do processing. You have to do your own processing just to bring up that volume up. Even though when I do it the other way, when I send the Toneberg through the inputs, I have to lower the Toneberg because it's really hot. Like the outputs, you got the Toneberg sends more output volume than an MPC XL. It's loud. It's a loud machine. That's why I like the Electron machines. The least loudness on an Electron machine is plus 19 dB, and that's with the analog rhythm and analog 4. They're at that minus 19 plus 19 dB, and And that doesn't even matter because they have the analog circuitry in there. When you add some of that overdrive, analog overdrive, it kicks it up a notch, you know. And yeah, I can compare it only with things that I had before. So compared to the MPC Live, that I used to have, Live 2, is way more loud than MPC Live. But you know, I'm not saying that an MPC Live is bad. It's not that. It's that you know, it's a $1,600 machine. It has to be loud. Yeah, minus 22 gain. Yeah, well, that's why I have Electron right now. I love the fact that the sound coming out of the boxes is really loud, and it has a lot of headroom, so it doesn't distort. To distort the Electron box, you're gonna have to do so much. Like, you're gonna have to push it so hard to make it distort. And that's exactly why I like it, because now you can throw everything in the sauce in there, and you know, throw your spices in, and you know, do all your mixing in there and do all that stuff, and it still can handle all that juice in there. So I can still use my outboard gear, using my DAW, and that's the point. I'm gonna start doing multi-tracking. The fact is that I'm just not used to not hearing that sonic magic in there with the analog heat. I recommend that machine. If you can get an analog heat, even the first analog heat that came out, it's gonna make a huge difference on your sound, just by adding a little bit of saturation, subtle saturation and volume. All right, Jervis, I'll see you next time. I just arrived to my job too. I'm about to leave, and you know, this just been a little talk. Yeah, guys, I say, always speak your mind. Don't let people try not to let you speak your mind, because they have either they have a narrative to keep, or they have, you know, you gotta tell them what it is. Like, if you don't say it, like, I believe that. No, MPC. And see, Banana Writer said, the only reason I haven't ditched MPC is the mastering tool, no computer, no DAW. That's what I'm saying. So the MPC right now, if I get an MPC, it would definitely be the right thing to use, because what I would do, I'm gonna get the G2 very soon, but you know, what I would do with the MPC, it would be like this. I would use my audio interface with that MPC, the G2, not the older one. The older one doesn't handle very well high count of like more than 8 inputs. Like at 8 inputs, it just can't handle so many inputs on the regular MPC Lives, or Live 2, or MPC 1, you know, the older version. The newer versions, they can handle up to 32 channels with no difficulty. So I would take like my Audient, and I would do this. I would take my Audient, put it into the MPC 1 G2, and then run all my machines through all those inputs, and mix them inside of the MPC, and that would be great. And then what I do out of the MPC, go through my outboard gear, and because the analog heat is also a audio interface, what I would do is I would like put it through the analog heat, like through the, I don't know if I should do that, because I could do that, but the Behringer 369 needs to be like the last in the chain, so that would be another little difficulty. It should be last in the chain. Yeah. Either way you put it, you can make it happen. And if you have an MPC G2, I don't think you need a PC at all. I don't think I would do, in my case, I would take the analog heat and reserve it for drums, which is the thing that needs the most crisping up, and you know, analog synthesizers are gonna sound great. I would just use it, the analog heat, I would use it on the MPC just to run through like digital stuff, run through that and heat them up and bring it back in. That's the only way I would have used that. All right, 8-man at work. Have a good day, Banana Rider. It's nice seeing you. Since having the same tech, that's all I use for drums and programming. Well, the Syntac already has analog stuff in there. The Syntac has, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think is plus 19 dB on output, and it has it all. I don't have a Syntac because I already have an analog rhythm. The only thing I don't like about the analog rhythm is that it doesn't have sample rate reduction like the Syntac. I believe it has bit rate reduction and sample rate reduction. And sometimes you wanna play stuff with some sample rate reduction to add some grit to the sound. It has like a sheen type of, like a little sheen. When you have like a dull sound, a sound that doesn't have too much high end, and you take some, you know, sample rate reduction, and it brings it back up a little bit. Yep. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go. I gotta go to work. I'll see you guys next time. Well, tonight I'll probably hop in tonight so I can showcase the 1.40, and we'll talk about it, and let's do some testing and see what's happening inside of the DAW and whether or not it's for you. And I'll show you guys the differences on how it works, either via overbridge or via what? I forgot. The other way around. USB compliant, whatever the hell that is. Yeah, it has two ways of operating through MIDI. You have one way where you get all the channels, all the outputs into the DAW, and then you have another one where you only get 4 inputs, like 2 stereo in and 2 stereo in, 2 stereo out. It doesn't have anything else. But 2 stereo in, 2 stereo out works faster. It uses way less CPU and way less latency, and you have to keep that in mind. If it comes down to it, I just record 1 track at a time, like old school way. And the machines that I got that have multi outputs, like the analog 4 and the analog rhythm, those I can record separately with their physical outputs. That's why I was very interested in the outbox, the Electron outbox they were supposed to come out with, because that's the way I want to use it, which is send physical cables into the audio interface, and that way record separate outputs. We're gonna do that tonight, and you're gonna see the difference between both. Probably there's not gonna be that much difference, or it might be a little difference between the loudness of sending it through USB or capturing it directly to the converters into the computer. Yeah, Banana Writer, you have a big point, and that's what's been saving me in the sound quality department, because let's say if I push everything through a 2-track into my computer, that means that I have to work my sound so it fits very well in that bottleneck. You know what I mean? So you will be making the right choices in sound, so you don't oversaturate that 2-track, you know. And ever since I've done that, I'm working basically always on 2 tracks. Sometimes you want to have the bass separate from the rest, so you can do like, certain things like you can have your instruments separate, and your drums can go into a separate bus from the bass, so you have the bass separate, the drum bus separate. You can do like 4 buses into one, and that you'll be fine. But you just got to keep in mind, it's the same spectrum, either whether you're in the box or outside the box. Yeah, you can't saturate. That's why I like to saturate the 2-track a little bit. And if I need to saturate the drums, then I do it on the box itself, and then just have clean boost on the rest of the track. Like the 2-track can have clean boost and not saturated, and it sounds great. And then it adds so much high end and so much depth into it. When I'm mixing, I'm not mixing that much neither. I'm not adding too much into the mixing. I'm trying not to over processing stuff, like throwing it a shit ton of compression here and there. I only use compression when an instrument is kind of weird, like it has different, like it's too dynamic, and you want to like control how much goes up and down in volume. That's when you come in with a compressor and tame that type of signal, so it doesn't bounce all over the place. You have more control of the overall gain staging. And yeah, I think that the simpler you go and using high quality sounds, you can't go wrong with high quality sounds, and from the get-go, from the beginning. That's why I like to sample my own stuff. I'll make like a little melody, a little phrase with a couple of instruments, and then I resample that, and then I chop that and use it different ways. And it's like doing it with a record, but instead of going into somebody's record, I'm going into my own record. So, every time I make a melody, this is what I've been doing. You guys can practice this. Every time you make a new melody, take that melody and resample it and save it in a file. That melody, 8 bars, 4 bars, whatever. When you come back to it someday that you don't have, like, you don't have anything in your mind to go with, like you have a little bit of writer's block, you go into your into your thing where you have your recorded melodies or loops, and you start listening, and 100%, I'll tell you, I have done this like 3 times already. Yeah, that's the OG way. Yeah, man, I think that's the right way to go. Resampling your stuff, keeping things simple, getting quality sounds from the get-go, or quality recordings. And you can't try hard. You got to try It has to be comfortable. If you have a snare and you're trying to put all this stuff on a snare, that snare doesn't work. You gotta get the right snare. Don't take a snare that doesn't work and try to make it work, and then, because it's not gonna work. Get the right snare. It's gonna go into the pocket really nice. Same with the kicks. If you choose the right kick, you barely have to do anything to that kick. It's just so simple. All right, it's time for me to go. I'll see you guys next time. All right, have a good day. I'm here at work, so I'm gonna grind it all day. All right, have a good one.